well, welcome back from the coffee break. Mike Senese has decided to stay for the second half of this hard-hitting podcast grilling. Paul, Mr. Forbitz is
Very
still
kind
here
of you.
as well. And anyway, we wanted to ask Mike about his time at Make, and maybe we'll discuss what he does as Edge Impulse. After you stint in TV, you worked for Wired for a little while, and then you went to Make, which is where I know you from, and I believe you too as well, Paul, right?
Yep.
So so how did that all come about, Mike?
Well,
So the head job opened up there, right? And that's when you went over?
That's exactly right. Yeah. So there was, Make, when Make came on the scene, I had just started working at, this is back in like mid 2000s again, at this other DIY magazine called Ready Made. I don't know if you guys remember that one, but it was a precursor to it, a little bit more like home focused, but helped kind of create this environment, this appetite for DIY content. And it was just a phenomenal magazine, founded by two women, Grace and Shoshana in Berkeley. And I targeted that. I loved Wired, and I went and I worked at Wired, and then that Wired gig was wrapping up, and I said, what other, I like Ready Made too, and they're right across the bay, and I went to work there, and that was great. And then this new magazine shows up, and it's called Make, and it's all like the coolest cutting edge technology, and it's smart, and it's challenging, but it also makes the challenging parts really digestible. And I would consume each issue riding back from Berkeley across the Bay Bridge, and just like, wow, I'm just getting so smart just reading these issues. It was so cool. So when the job opened up for executive editor at Make, and this was now 2012, I went up to Sebastopol, where their headquarters was at that time, and met with Dale and with Sherry, who Dale was the founder of Make, and Sherry was the person that he brought aboard to create Maker Faire. And ended up that first conversation just sitting in the office and talking for 4 hours. And it was just like, it was great. We were just talking about all the different things that were happening in this space and all the people that, we knew, and the cool things that were happening. And it just was like perfect click. And, we kind of talk about like dream come true environments and jobs. And this is, there's no question that this is like the greatest, coolest, perfect fit for something that I could have gotten to do. Just seeing the latest, coolest things that people are working on that would not even emerge into like mainstream society for another 5 to 10 years. And getting to tell these stories, or, actually the thing that I liked best about it was helping people tell stories about the cool things, the coolest things that they're working on. Like for me, that was my big goal with the job that I had, was just giving everybody this opportunity to share incredible stories. And I think I did an okay job at that. But yeah, the magazine side, working with the magazine team, and just like the focus of distilling an endless number of incredible projects that people are working on into each installment of the magazine was just like, it's just so much good stuff. And then with being at Make, getting to go to different Maker Fairs, going to the flagship Maker Fairs in Bay Area and New York, but then also I'd go to 2 or 3 different Maker Fairs in different parts of the world each year. So I got to see how different cultures presented making in lots of different formats, which was also really fascinating. And
that's awesome. And you stayed there for what, 9 years? Is that right?
Yeah, I was there for about 9 years.
So that was probably I guess that was probably the place you've worked the longest. I mean, especially compared to a TV show for a couple months, right?
Yeah. I would say, it's probably, sometimes I think I'm like half of my adult life, I feel like was at Make, but maybe, I don't know, my math isn't so good, because I might be older than I am thinking that I am.
Yeah, because 1995 was what, about 10 years ago? Is that correct?
Yeah,
somewhere
it's
around there.
6 years ago from what my last check was. Yeah,
Well, so what was were you in charge of the Maker Faire portion or the magazine portion or both?
Magazine portion, yeah.
Okay.
Maker Faire had its team, and the editorial team, which would do the magazine and would do the blog. They would get pulled in to assist with Maker Faire, helping vet the different submissions for exhibitors and for speakers, and then also just be on the ground at the events,
right,
doing coverage.
Because I remember I've met you in person years ago at the New York Maker Faire. You were whatever hanging around there, so that was nice to see you. It was good place to see people that
totally
maybe you act with, and this person's a real person. So
I know.
Pretty nice.
Yeah, it's funny because it goes both ways. Because I would see the writers and the authors and their projects in person, and that was like for me would be like the thing where I'm like, wow, like that's real. Like we've written about it, we got photos of it, but it's all digital and it's all like you're just typing and then to go to the event and you're like, wow, that's the thing, that's the one. It's really here, and you're the person who wrote it, and that's for me it was exciting.
Super cool. For sure. I mean, you see some of these things and it's like, I don't know. It's just some of the stuff's just so awesome when you go there, and I don't know. I could go into projects, but it'd just be too take the rest of the podcast.
I know. That's the hard part. There's so much.
Well, listen, we actually had a question from somebody on Twitter. Devon Bray, which is at @SO_logic. He asked, "What is the most common kind of project that is perennially unable to evolve into a product?" So I think that's an appropriate one to ask right now. So what do you think about that?
Oh, it's a good one. I saw that go through on Twitter. I was peeking.
Okay.
And so I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking about it all day long. And I was like, okay, what's like, because I feel like people can productize anything, and they have tried to just about anything. But at what point do you determine like this is unable to be a product? Is it that it doesn't sell well, or that it sold well for a little bit and then it failed, or that it's just like you can't turn, like this just can't turn into something? I always think like my go-to is like VR glasses. Even though there's a million, it exists, you can buy them and they've been around for years. They suck, and it's like nobody's gotten it right yet. And I don't know if
the Virtual Boy, that was awesome, right?
Right. I just don't know that. Like, even if you got it right, is it ever going to be something anyone actually really wants?
Or 3D TV. I don't know. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's like there's certain things that just seem so. And VR is something that has seemed like a cool thing seemed like the next thing for the last 3 decades or so.
Totally. Yeah, and they just keep trying, and they keep trying to do a different version of it, and they're like, okay, well, here's our turn, and then someone else tries, and that's like, no one cares. So I don't know. I mean, that's maybe not the right answer, but like that's the one that kept popping in my head when I was thinking about this.
That's funny. That didn't pop in my head, but it makes a lot of sense as an answer. I guess when I saw that, I thought like, man, I have these ideas all the time, and I don't have enough time to make them, much less turn them into a product. And sometimes I'll turn it into a product and sell it on Tindy or something, but it's just like, I don't know. I think it's like, you've got to think of yourself, oh, is this a cool product for me? Or maybe 10 other people, or is this a product that, thousands of people are going to want? And that's a struggle. I mean, Paul, you have that. I've seen, let me just say this about Paul. He has this the 4-bit industry store, right? And from what he's told me, he doesn't sell that much online all the time.
I don't sell very much, but I also don't try very hard.
Well, but I've been with him at several Maker Fairs, and it's like he cannot accept the money fast enough. They're just throwing cash at him.
It's true. I do very well at Maker Faire Orlando.
So I don't know. Perhaps certain products are better for certain niches than others. I don't know.
Yeah.
I need to advertise better to the right people. Like I have some regular clients that are schools that learn to solder kits, and that's great. I love that. If I could fill an order for 50 or 100 units, hey, awesome. I'm walking on, sunshine. But I just need to advertise to schools better. But when it's not like the main thing you do in a day, it's very easy to get lazy. I need to put myself in a position where I need to succeed at this to eat, and
Yeah.
then that maybe that'll light a fire under me.
Okay. So your answer, Paul, would be um, products made by anybody that's not like really desperate for money. Is that? Is that?
You know, when I think about what products I could make, but they would definitely fail, anything that's got a cheap $10 kit you can get on Amazon that was once a really cool project. Like I think about those component identifier testers where you stick anything into it and it tells you what it is and if it's working.
Could I
No,
stick
really.
could I stick a golf ball in there? Or, I mean,
No,
what
no,
are we
no,
talking about
no.
here?
Resistor, capacitor, diode, transistor. It'll tell you if it's a MOSFET or a bipolar junction transistor, and it'll give you the basic stats on it. That was a really cool project out of Germany that a guy came up with. Let's see if we can make a component identifier tester out of an Atmega 328P. It was a great project. The webpage got translated into several languages, and then China started producing them for like $10 a piece. Yeah. And it's like, if you were trying to sell a kit, well, you know, that just blew up. And I know this is something that's dealt with at all levels of the food chain. I mean, there are people, I think I read that it takes, if Amazon decides they want to do it, they can have a generic of your product on their site in 4 months.
Wow.
Like, that's how long you have to make money off of something that is a blockbuster, awesome product before they genericize it and your sales go through the floor. So
you want something good, but not too good, is what
you know. You know what I would love, if I have a part-time job that gives me some time to make, like I actually don't care if I make a product and only 10 people buy it, right? As long as it's got a cool factor for me, I'm kind of cool with that, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you're an artist, you just make a couple. You know, if you're Picasso, think about how much each of his paintings. You know,
I'm not even thinking of an art thing. I'm thinking of, like, I saw a product on Facebook just today that I was very excited about in the vintage test equipment Facebook page. Somebody had old HP gear, and the LCD screens fail on those. This is true of fluke meters too with LCD screens. So he made an LED display that retrofits into this old piece of HP test gear, and he will sell a few dozen of those to other people that own the same gear because it's a great upgrade. I'm fine designing and making stuff like that just because it's fun and I want it for my gear. So I think, and Mike, maybe we can bring this back to you here. There's definitely a trade-off in the fun of making something, even if it doesn't pay off well, versus, okay, making something that's really going to pay off, that's really going to,
right,
really going to help you support yourself and your family. And that's a hard, I think a lot of people thinking about how much they want to be involved in maker culture and maker as a business, that is a big decision to make, whether you're going to make that leap and sink or swim.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think about this a lot, that, you know, like the big thing with the maker movement is the democratization of so many different elements, you know, like the prototyping and production and electronics, and suddenly, like, you can create stuff that you've only dreamt about, or you know it's all, and you it's probably easier if you're a specific engineer in a certain area, but you don't have to be, so you can do this stuff. So suddenly, like, the tools of creation are they're common, they're easy to access, but the part that is still not that's not just like a no-brainer is like that next part. You have to market, you have to sell, you have to do fulfillment, and that whole process. To some degree, Kickstarter came along and and created an opportunity for people to have this marketing, a channel that didn't exist prior to that, and allowed them to get out there. And I think Tindy, to some degree, you could see that for that community, like that's something that, that exists. But you still have to have that other skill set. And it's hard. It's
it's a big deal. There's a whole like, as you're alluding to, it seems like there's a whole like making something for yourself and making a product. It's almost like there may be related skills, but they're not the same skills.
Right. Yeah. Oh, they're not. Yeah, not at all. It's and I never went full on and down that road of I'm going to try to create, I think we all have like our like ideas list of like, oh, here's my $1 million idea. And I never went hardcore down that route. I did a few things that I was like, okay, I can make some of these, and I could 3D print these things and sell them on Etsy and make a couple of dollars. And it's fun. It's exciting. It's super exciting. You get, you get a sale, you get another sale. It's like, oh, neat. And then you have to package stuff up and you tape it and you got to write out a label, and hopefully they're not international, because then you have to write a customs form, and then you ship it off, and it becomes, when it starts to stack up. And I've always heard this from all the Kickstarter people. I mean, it's the famous story that like the successful Kickstarters, the success of the successful Kickstarters is worse than like not being successful, because you've done yourself. I will say,
Jeremy, you've done one, right?
Yeah, and it was good. I mean, I was happy with it. I got enough orders that I was able to make a profit, but not so many orders that I was just overwhelmed. So I think I got I made this the JC Pro Macro, the JC Pro Macro 2. Paul actually has one of these. But I sold these. I priced it. I went through the numbers very carefully and put in enough fluff that I knew I would make a profit.
Yeah.
And I really had to think through these things a lot. And I have a background in manufacturing, so I think that really helped.
Oh yeah.
Maybe with not, maybe helped me be more realistic about a few things, and about how I need to set up some bins for picking everything, and just I had some good advice too. I got to give our former host Pat Regan and some other people that give me some great advice with this. I mean.
Well,
I would say number one piece of advice, just get lots of advice and think about who you need to listen to and who you need to ignore. Because sometimes you can't do everything. Even if it's good advice, you can't do everything.
Now, Jeremy, did you keep track of how many hours you put into that?
I did not. So I don't know what my hourly rate was. So I think you're alluding to a pretty good point here, that maybe I didn't get paid that well. But, on the other hand, this is something I really wanted to make for myself, and the fact that I got to sell a couple hundred of them, that's
pretty good.
Yeah.
So then I use this all the time. I love it. So and I'm not even really trying to advertise. I mean, I guess I am, but it's just it's something that I wanted to make for myself, and it's cool, and you get to sell it to some other people too. So.
But you see, I think that's what's the best, when you make something that you really like, and you're like, look, I'm just going to share this. Maybe I make a couple thousand, maybe I make a couple $100 total, but especially if you're going to make it for yourself, it's really nice that you're able to share it with everybody else.
Yeah, and maybe that's a sweet spot that really is good, and something that wasn't available, 10, 20 years ago, whatever. Just the fact that you can do that. But yeah, so anyway, it's been good, but I guess we got
something. I was just going to say something like the JC Pro Macro, like 20 years ago. Yeah. What would that avenue, like what you would be advertising a little classified box in the back of like an electronics enthusiast magazine. And maybe it would work.
Much harder.
Much harder. But I grew up my dad is an avid model railroader. So, growing up, seeing that niche community, and the way that it's still supporting itself. It's there. You go to conventions, and so there's people that are doing it. But yeah, I mean, you have to like really be in that world to do that, and you're not probably going to get outside of that world. And now you kind of can.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, let me segue to a different question for you, Mike. You're working for Edge Impulse now.
Correct.
What do you
Yes.
what do you do for them?
Well, yeah. What is that, first of all? What would you say you do here? No, I mean,
Yeah, what do you say you do here?
So, Edge Impulse is an AI startup software company, specifically doing AI in the flavor of small models and algorithms for embedded and constrained devices. So
Mm-hmm.
very different than the large language model ChatGPT stuff. This is figuring out how to put a model onto a smartwatch or into a device that might be put into a factory in a very remote location where connectivity and power might not be so easily obtained, and then have it provide the intelligence to do whatever it is that you want to do. So that's the Edge Impulse story. The company's been around for about 4 years now, and has built a pretty good name for itself in this edge AI space. So it's exciting. I was watching them while I was at Make, and they kind of kept popping up into the center of a lot of our AI and machine learning content and stories. This new startup that made it a lot easier suddenly to do machine learning, and then I started seeing all the really smart people that I was tracking joining the company, and I went, the smartest people that I'm watching are all joining this company. I should probably pay attention to that.
yeah,
So
yeah. So is it something you can say write an algorithm and put it on an Arduino or something, or is it more meant for
Arduino is supported. A lot of the stuff. What I find really interesting, and it kind of ties into what we're talking about here a little bit just a second ago. But a lot of what the tools are designed for enterprise grade solutions. So if you are like a big company and you're building 100,000 units of something that will then go out into the market, and you're trying to figure out what's the right hardware that you want to use and the model that will fit onto that. We've got the tools that create those models, but also to help understand what type of hardware, what type of silicon is the right fit for that product, for the models that you're creating. Yeah, and it's it's a whole soup to nuts solution tool where data collection, data refinement, feature modeling, model generation, and then the deployment part where it deploys straight to the hardware as well. So Arduino, yes, they're one of the supported tools, but a lot of other silicon. In fact, you can deploy it to any type of hardware. That's the nice thing. It'll put out a C++ file. So you can, some of these tools, they have a specific hardware that they're designed for, but this one's pretty great because it's hardware agnostic. You can put it on any type of silicon.
Cool. Now, is this a situation where you're creating a model for a client, they're going to incorporate it in their program, deploy it, or are their devices continually sending you data to update the model?
Well, they're going to be creating their own models. But just to understand that correctly, what they'll do is they'll access our software, and then maybe if some guidance is needed, we'll help them understand the process and help guide them through it. But they'll then either collect the data on the hardware that they're using to generate the model, or they might come in with a preset data set and then transfer that into the platform, and then use that to figure out the right set of features and then generate the model from there, refine the model to make sure that it fits and it performs correctly. But then also to do continuous improvement from there as well, because the data can continue to come in, and then look at how it's performing and if the additional data will benefit the model and the performance.
All right.
Yeah, it's neat. There's the thing that's really cool about it is it's really broad. In fact, it's almost like that's one of the challenges. It can be utilized. It's an AI algorithm tool, so it can be utilized in so many different ways. We have customers that are using it for cough detection. A company that has built the world's largest data set of cough of coughs, just like the different
Nice.
cough impulses. And then they're using this to train it to understand, is this cough, is it potentially TB, or is it COVID, or, is this just someone that has chronic coughs or allergies? And so you kind of start to build out this understanding, this logic, but then put that model onto a device, a smartwatch that is constantly listening and can let someone know, hey, like this chronic cough that you're experiencing is starting to happen from this, XYZ scenario.
Yeah.
And then, we've got other customers that are using drones for wildlife conservation efforts. We've got other customers that are doing non-invasive glucose monitoring, a bunch of different ones. And there's, like I said, like almost no limit, because you're building, it's AI algorithms that you're building. So if you can think of a scenario for it, it can be used for that. So it's kind of at the starting point where it is all leading to. But it's really fun to see the stories. I kind of see this as like an extension of what I've always done. Find people with cool stories and help them tell those stories.
Okay.
So tell us what you're doing there.
Yeah. So to answer that question, I'm in charge of, I'm the director of content marketing, which basically means creating great customer stories, putting together case studies, sharing them, interfacing with different potential customers about things that they might be working on and ways that we can help refine and tell those stories and share those out. And then, of course, like thought leadership and like general marketing business type stuff as well. But the stuff that I get most excited about is the customer stories and seeing the ways that people are building out these projects and these deployments and the diversity of it. It's really neat.
So if we see something for your company on Twitter or whatever else, good chance you've had something to do with it, right? Is that right?
Good chance. But I will say I'm super impressed with the colleagues that I have at the company, and they're all really they're all brilliant. But they're also like really good at creating content and getting content shared out there. So Dan and Jenny, they recently wrote a book called Edge AI, and it's on O'Reilly. It's talks about let me pull up the exact title. I don't want to misrepresent it.
Sure.
But it's about this whole space, and it talks a lot about edge impulse, AI at the edge. Sorry, I want to make sure I say it correctly. AI at the edge. And it's this great O'Reilly book that's it's thick and dense, but also super digestible. And they're just, as an example, two of my coworkers who are great at creating content and being involved in distributing that as well. But everybody, so I would say there's a chance that if you see something on Twitter or on LinkedIn or one of these other channels, it may have come from me. But there's a lot of really smart people who are putting out a lot of good stuff at the company.
Well, that's awesome. So they must have a pretty decent marketing department then. It sounds like.
I feel like it, but like Dan and Jenny are both engineers. The engineers, everybody at the company is pretty empowered to create a lot of this stuff, and they're good at it. We're still a startup, so we're not yet 80 people at the company. The marketing team is not it's not huge, but it's I feel like we're doing a pretty good job of getting a lot of noise out there. And
nice.
Keeping awesome. The awareness up, and yeah.
Man, we've talked about some awesome stuff with you. Is there anything? First of all, is there anything else you want to tell us about that we haven't asked you about yet? Anything? Are you learning to fly a helicopter? Is that on the agenda?
I think I have to. I think I have to learn how to fly a helicopter now, just so I can back that up, because it's going to come back and continue to bite me in the butt. But yeah,
agreed. You got to do it.
a lot of my life right now involves chasing around a fourth grader who is almost 10 years old, and he did tell me the other day that he's a funny guy. I love him, and he more than anything, he just wants to work with his dad. He wants to work at Edge Impulse with me. And so he was telling me the other day, he said, Dad, maybe I got an idea. I'm going to build an airplane and I'm going to get my airplane license, not a pilot license. He calls it an airplane license. And he's like, and then I can fly with you to the events that you have to go to. And I said, well, that's a great idea. Okay, I love it. These are things that are logical in his mind. But I did look, and I thought, okay, we got summers coming up. Got to start figuring out like summer camps and different activities. And I did look to see what some of these pilot schools actually. There's no age limit to do pilot lessons. To get a pilot license, you have to be 16. But to do the lessons, you could be. Okay. You could be 6, and I think the way that the introductory lessons work, the person takes you up, the pilot trainer, they take you up, and they get you into the air, and then they say, okay, take it over. You're at the wheel now, or you're at the controls, and then the person flies an airplane for a while. Oh, so wow. I was like, okay, maybe I'll do that this summer, but
that'd be cool.
You got to make sure you can reach the pedals, right? Yeah. I mean.
Yeah,
it's a good point.
I will say, I went in a light airplane one time, and I was in the I don't know, co-pilot seat, I don't know. And we're up, and the guy says, "Okay, you want to fly it around some?" I'm like, "Okay." And so I'm just thinking, I've got the yoke, and I'm thinking like, unlike a car, when you stop, it's like if I push down or whatever, I could kill everybody, and it's a very unnerving. It's a very unnerving feeling. At least that one time I did it.
Yeah, it's terrifying to think about, but I feel like that's the starting point that you have to go through to get to the helicopter stage. So maybe
right. I mean, I wouldn't know, but sounds right to me.
Actually, I don't know if you have to know how to fly a fixed wing aircraft to do helicopter lessons. I think you can just do helicopter.
You just jump straight in. Oh man, maybe. Helicopter to me sounds like it's way harder because you've got, this, you got this, so there's like a lot, and you got this, and so there's a lot of different ways about it. So you have to be, you got to know what's going on.
You do. You have to know the right combination of things, but they really have reduced it to, they had to reduce it to 2 hands and 2 feet, right?
Right.
So that's all you're going to have to deal with.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. A friend of mine, she was, going through some training for the military, and she had to go through helicopter training. I'm like, so you can fly a helicopter? She said, well, I could probably land a helicopter without crashing, maybe. She was trained to be a flight surgeon, I think. I mean, not a pilot, but somebody who would be experienced.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you guys this. What do you know about space? What do you know about space camp? Either of you guys space camp alum?
We should know about that, shouldn't we?
You should.
But I don't know much about it, to be honest.
It's not like the movie.
Oh, I just watched that movie the other day.
Oh, did you?
I did. I brought it back up because I was like, okay, that's another option here. We might, skip straight to the rocket ships. That movie's hilarious. It's so good.
Yeah. No, I was at Kennedy Space Center not that long ago, and they did talk about their summer programs, but I think it's frankly not any different than what you would find at your local science museum if they have a space area.
Okay. Yeah, I know that the famous one in Huntsville, Alabama, and I looked a little bit at their website of different, they have different programs and week-long versions, weekend versions, but I just don't know enough about it. So I was hoping that one of you guys had come through those ranks.
I wish I knew. I remember I thought it'd be really cool to go do it when I was younger, but I didn't. So I don't know. I feel like now as a parent, it's like, well, maybe that was pretty expensive, and you sleeping. I don't know.
Yeah.
The answer is I don't know. I wish I did.
If I find out, I will come back and I will report to you guys what our findings were. The space camp experience.
Space camp experience with Mike.
Or we can interview your kid.
Yeah.
Let him tell us.
That might be entertaining.
Yeah, I think you would love it.
So, I guess before we go, sometimes we like to ask what you guys are working on. So, Mike, is there anything? I guess, you kind of said what you're working a little bit, but is there anything, any other projects or whatever you're
Yeah, do
working
you
on
have
right
any
now?
side projects?
Yeah, most of my side projects right now are repairs, and
Mm.
I almost find that to be more satisfying than like the maker stuff. Um, and especially I think I'm probably because I'm a homeowner now. I'm a parent. The refrigerators cost a lot of money, so when the
They
refrigerator
do,
stops
for sure.
working, it's like, okay, I can go. This was my recent repairs was like we came home from a trip and the refrigerator was out, the lights were out, and I think it had just crapped out on us like a couple days before our trip, so because stuff was still cold in there but thawing.
Hmm.
And so I pull this refrigerator out and I'm like, plug it in, plug it out. It's not, nothing's working. The classics. And then I find in the back there's a control module board, and I look at that and I'm like, okay, this looks like this is the culprit here. And I did some googling and said, okay, it probably cost me $400 to replace this, which is a tenth of the $4,000 to replace the whole refrigerator. But I kept
Sure.
staring at it and I was thinking, like, it's not the board that's bad. It's something on the board that's bad. And so,
That's
like,
right.
why spend $400 to replace this? So I kept doing a little more, like, digging on, poking around on the internet, and I determined that it was very likely that the capacitors were a problem. There's 13 capacitors on this board. So I, for a few dollars, bought replacements for each of the capacitors, and then pulled each one off one at a time, replaced it, went through all of them. The 13th one I plugged, and each time I would try to plug the board and see if it would work. The 13th
Really?
final
Wow.
one, I wanted to know. I'm like, which one of these is the one that did this? And
Yeah.
and I got to the point where I was like, by like 10, I'm like, it's not the capacitors. It's not working. And so, but I'm like, okay, I'll just keep going. And my wife's in the kitchen, and I get to the 13th one, and I plug it in, and she goes, "It's working." And I went, "No way!"
That's
So,
fantastic.
so take that,
Take that,
appliance
refrigerator.
makers. I fixed that fridge for $6.
Oh yeah,
Wow. Good job.
that's the thing. I fixed my washing machine and my dryer. Well, no, washing machine twice actually, so
Nice.
at different times.
Yeah.
But you think about it, it's like this tiny little thing gets it's ruined, and then it's hundreds or even thousands of dollars. And not only that, it's like you're throwing it in the landfill for
Right.
and it's I don't know, it just seems so wasteful and on so many levels.
Totally is. Yeah.
So it's awesome that you fixed that.
Thank you. Yeah. I am still like riding high on that one. And there's been a few other really good ones that I'm like super excited about. I couldn't fix the dishwasher. That one just was like
Yeah, that's a tough
beyond
one.
my skill.
Yeah.
They encase everything in like resin inside of the
Yes.
dishwasher. So
Yes.
yeah.
They do that in washing machines too.
Yeah.
I pulled out the main board and I'm like, no, this is potted. I can't do anything with this.
I think you get a pass in the dishwasher. I'm gonna say that. I think. Now,
dishwashers, they can get nasty too.
Yeah, you pay somebody for that, I think.
Yeah.
Now, what about you, Paul? Anything you're working on interesting these days?
Yeah, too many projects. I'm still working on. I had a setback. It would have been done 2 nights ago, but I had a setback on my oobleck bouncer. Oobleck is that non-Newtonian fluid, and I got a good subwoofer. I built a cabinet for it. I built a cabinet for the amp I built. And then while stuff was jangling around in my trunk, the transformer broke. Something landed on it. There's a little PCB on the transformer and a part broke off. And I had it hooked up to meters and plugged in, and I was poking it. And the primary winding is intermittent. So I'm going to have to find a new transformer. And of course, I had salvaged that transformer out of a broken Hacko soldering iron. And so what? Am I going to wait for another one to break. No, I have to find something else to salvage Transformer out of. But that is very close to completion. That's something we'll be able to take to Maker Faire and show kids oobleck bouncing around.
Nice.
And so
so fun.
I'm looking forward to getting that one done. And it's painted up real nice. So colored LEDs on it and all that. So
that'll be
cool.
Fantastic. So
I can't wait to see
it. I'm looking forward to getting it done. I'll put a video online of it.
Nice. All right. Well, Mike, where can we find you?
Wait, hold on. Before we
what are you working on?
What are you working on, Jeremy?
Thank you for asking. I'm working on all kinds of things, but I guess one thing I actually have in my hand now. So I've been working on a camera mount. So it's a magnetic camera mount. It looks like a dial from like an old telephone or something. It's got all these. They basically I think 12 neodymium magnets, and you can hook up. It's basically just like a stud that you stick down on, like a vise or something. Like a whatever, and then you could put you can mount a camera to it. So it's going to be really really good for filming stuff. I'll probably put a video out on it because it's pretty neat, I think. And I got it printed in this in clear resin. I think it's resin. Anyway, it looks
printed.
Fantastic. Yeah,
that's 3D printed. Wow.
I did not 3D print it. This is what my version looks like. I mean,
that's got to be a resin print. Yeah.
But yeah, I ordered it from the Chinese company. Actually made it for me. So
that's amazing. I just figured you'd glued together a couple pieces of acrylic, but that's
it's really really good. So I'm looking forward to putting a video on that out just because the visuals it's just stunning. So
yeah.
Anyway, I can't take all the credit for. I can take credit for the design, but not actually printing it. So
that's all right. I think it still counts.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's really clever. Very cool.
Thank you. And that's another thing. It's like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, this might be a cool product. But then I think about how much it costs to get printed and how easy it would be to knock this off. And it's like, well, I should just put it out there as something people can print themselves.
Yeah.
So
who knows?
I don't know. Who knows? But yeah. So Mike, where can we find you? If people want to find you,
main website, MikeSenese.com. I've got a blog that I haven't kept up as much through the recent years, but it's MikeSenese.com/doit. Okay. Social media, I don't know what's going on with Twitter these days, but M Senese is my Twitter. Actually, all social channels. My first initial, my last name, M Senese. But okay. Finding it harder and harder to get to be enthused about social posting. So
it's tough.
Same here, man.
Reasons.
Yeah.
Same here.
And I gotta apologize. I believe I mispronounced your name earlier. Mike Senese. So my apologies.
No, I think my dad says it the way that you say it. So I don't know.
Well.
I heard him say our last name not too long ago, and I'm like, wait, what's our last name?
Okay, well I feel fine about it then. So thank you.
Yeah.
And what about you? What about you, Paul? If I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
Oh, for social media.
I mean, or whatever media.
Oh, yeah. No, just go to 4-Bit Industries and buy something. That's the best way to communicate with me.
Okay. Yeah. And,
contact info is there. Check out the website. It's fantastic.
And myself, you go to jeremyascook.com, and that's my website. So
love it.
There you go. Well, Mike, thank you so much for coming on. We had a great time, and
thanks for having me. It's nice. It's really nice to connect with you guys. It was fun working with you both on different things at Make, and enjoying the podcast. So thanks for having me be part of it.
Likewise.
And,
thank
you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for. See you later, I guess.
Adios.
I don't know. However you sign this podcast off. So yeah.
I will talk to you soon.
Whatever you want, but just maybe keep the browser open until it.
Oh yeah, no, just wait.
Well, don't you have to hit the stop button on your end? Yeah.
If you would go to speakpipe.com/create-invent,